It was amazing.
It was so powerful. People were crying. They reported being transformed. Even we were surprised. I mean, we knew and we're going to explain all about how this can be helpful, but just feeling the power of it made us feel like this is worth talking about today.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about the power of the primal scream and why does it feel so good to scream, even healing. But before we do that, we are going to talk about our drink.
We're going to drink Roar Organic Strawberry Lemonade. Of course, I chose it because it matches this episode of using our voices. But when I was looking for it, because I was literally just looking for a name, it turns out this is actually a pretty great drink. It's gluten-free, vegan, and keto friendly, but it's designed for hydration, just like electrolytes. So if you're a runner or you do a lot of active sports, it's good. And I don't know about you guys, but it's hard to find sometimes electrolyte things that are low sugar, and they have low sugar. So we're organic. You're doing a great job, and we're going to stay hydrated while we talk about our voice.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about this primal scream.
Okay, so what inspired us to talk about this today is we had a women's crawl a couple weeks ago for Women's Day, International Women's Day, and we had 300 women do a primal scream together. And at first we were like, oh, how's this going to work? Are people going to be like, nah, I'm not doing that? It was amazing.
It was so powerful. People were crying. They reported being transformed. Even we were surprised. I mean, we knew and we're going to explain all about how this can be helpful, but just feeling the power of it made us feel like this is worth talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we want to talk about it too because, of course, there's the naysayers. The people were like, just a bunch of women screaming. Just angry women.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, there's research behind this. There's a reason why we're doing this. We're not just screaming for the sake of screaming.
Yes, apparently, it became popular in the 1970s by Arthur Jadob. He developed the term primal scream therapy. And the belief was that neuroses, suppressed pain and trauma, gets stored in the body. And the goal through screaming was to relive these traumatic memories in a controlled setting, to release the pain. That's the primal scream. And to reconnect with your true self, with your true neurotic self. And he believed that grieving, all that stored pain needed to be grieved. And some people grieve quietly and some grieve loudly. So the scream really was allowing people to grieve and to release this on a very core level.
On a somatic level, right? And there's so many somatic therapy techniques now that you use the body to release what you're storing, any emotional trauma, psychological trauma.
I think it's important to tie that because people, it was always on the fringe, and some will say the research didn't support it, but he still has an institute. He has since passed, but has a lot of anecdotal, research. But really what he was doing somatic release therapy, which is happening all over the place now. Mm-hmm. So while the scream is sometimes discounted, it's been interesting how I think I've been hearing it more and people doing more scream. So I think there's a difference between primal scream therapy and then primal scream just release for stress. Yeah. Because you're here now, people are going into the woods and they're screaming. So let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening when we're screaming. Why is that even beneficial for our nervous systems?
Yeah. So when you scream, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. So there's this activation in your nervous system. And that leads to a parasympathetic rebound, which is then, what your body does to relax itself after a release. So it's the calm after the release. So there's an activation, then there's a release, an explosion, and then there's relief. So it's similar to other releases like exercising, crying, laughing. And then what happens after that is cortisol levels drop. So there is a calming effect when your body decreases cortisol
Mhm.
levels, right? Which is we need that to sleep. We need our cortisol levels to drop when we go to sleep. So it's a really important thing that's happening in your body and you're controlling it.
Yeah.
Like you're activating it.
Yeah, and I think most people would say there's just a lot going on in the world. So, I mean, people are reporting a lot more stress personally, societally. So, and there's just an influx of information. So, there is more of a need, or people are reporting more of a need for release. And so this could be one of the ways just to release some temporary, right, additional stress that we're holding.
And it's similar to breath work in a way. When you're doing diaphragmatic breath work, and you're using your diaphragm for that full exhalation that induces the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's often used in trauma therapy as well.
Yeah. And I think that, when your intention is to use it more in a therapeutic term, like in primal therapy, like you're really wanting to help recalibrate the nervous system, shift the tone, discharge activation, and promote like safety again. And that's why people often really, I'm in talk therapy, but nothing's changing in my body. So, because a lot of that's held in the implicit memory. So you've got to bypass the thinking and like go into the body to release what's there, which then allows you to change some of the story around it as well. So when we work into the body releasing and screaming, it reopens access to like regulation and cognition again, and we become better with our body. So there can have some immediate just relief, but it also could be used in a therapeutic context to really change some of those, some of the traumas that we carry.
Yeah, so like on an individual level, you are using your voice, right? Just like on our last podcast, we were talking about the power of saying no and the power of using your voice to say no. So working against the stay quiet, be polite, suppress your emotions, suppress your anger. Like, no, we're using our voice. And so there's like a healing aspect to that because you're not just talking about it and thinking about it, but you're doing it. You're using your voice, you're getting that emotion out and you're reclaiming it, kind of like singing, or it's just like using your body to reclaim your power and release your energy on a individual level. But then there's the collective, which is very powerful.
And, I mean, listen, for thousands of years, women, all types of people, but we're just focused on women today, have gathered around the fire. They've danced, they've chanted, right? They've moved together. Like, so, it's in our ancestral DNA to know what it's like to be part of a collective, to have a shared space, to be vulnerable with each other. And I think that like that's what we experienced the other day because we live in, for those of you not familiar, we live in a cute little Main Street town and there are tons of people out on the street. So we screamed right in the middle of the town square. Like we weren't hiding, we weren't going to a forest. So there's this power of like in doing it together. Right. But also, like, it was interesting to see all the people around being like really curious. And some people said they felt moved just watching it, even though they weren't part of it. So,
Yeah,
it was just really neat.
it's really powerful. And there is in the collective, there is emotional sync that happens, like emotional, like we're regulating each other and we're wired to sync with each other. Kind of like birds, right? Flying. You're wired to sync and mirror each other when you're together in a big group. So there's that group cohesion and there's a feedback loop, a release that's happening at the same time.
That's right.
Which creates connection
Yeah.
and safety and permission and all of it at once just by screaming together.
Yeah. And I saw women with their like arms linked together, and someone, told me they were just like, who historically doesn't experience a lot of emotion, especially repressed. And she was like, I was just crying. So it shifted something in her. She could feel that. And listen, so many people came for the primal scream. Like it was just one element of our crawls, which by the way, we're going to be doing more of, but it was all about teaching people about transformation. And that was the release part. But a lot of people came specifically for that, which is telling us that what?
They want more of that, the connection and the release.
Women want to use their voice too.
Yeah, and there's a big release of oxytocin, that hormone of love, the bonding hormone. There's a feeling of connection and trust. There's just like a feeling of we've got each other's back. It was just like I just looked out into the crowd and I was so moved. Like I almost started crying because there were women there. I think from the ages of like 20 to like 85. Like I met an 85-year-old woman there.
Yeah.
And it was just across the lifespan. Like, how can we find an activity that everybody was engaged in a cohesive way that brought release and power and just this cohesion of safety?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just bring back to like our connection, right? And
Mm-hmm.
humanness without like focusing on the things that divide us, right? Because that's what we all have feelings, and we all have stress, and we all released, but being able to share in that, and you could feel it, that oxytocin, you could feel everyone. And then we danced, and then we just danced. And we had an amazing dance party.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think that, sometimes when people are like, oh, go scream in a pillow, which is a contained way and that can be helpful. But I think if you find yourself like doing that over and over and over, but you're in a constant state of stress or you're constantly being triggered, you need to really like, consider looking inward, like what else is happening, because I think if it's just a management technique, then it's no different than like punching a bag or venting, right? So I think using it when you really need to, but it's also paying attention. One of the things, even as a psychologist, is somatic. I often go to, okay, releasing, breathing in, some like, quieting. But like sometimes when you've got energy, you're more of a sympathetic, you're like activated and you want it out. And so I really appreciate some people I, trained with about like big energy release. And to me, screaming is one, moving, hitting. So like that checking in, what do I need right now? Like maybe it's like, I need quiet, or you're like, I need to scream. Like I need to let it out and discharge that energy. So it goes back to, again, tuning in. What do I need right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, going back to the together with others, because I think part of people's just depression or sadness or anxiety right now is the divisiveness. It's divided. And then with the group cohesion, it just takes you out of the being alone and belonging as part of the collective. Like the collective is so important. And so finding this was just like, it took all the lines down of what divides us. And we were just all together expressing our whatever you want to. Was it pain? Was it anger? Was it like what? I don't know what it was, but everybody was doing it together.
It was loud and it was powerful and it was together.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you might see different workshops and things like popping up, and just so people know, there is a little bit of a science to it also, aside from what Eleni explained. We made sure the container was safe. People had permission. If they didn't want to and they just wanted to stand there, that was okay. And you regulate before you activate. So it's like you bring yourself into your body, grounding, right? And then like start activating your body, like building emotional access, like what do I want to release? What do I want to say? What do I want to let go of, And then we counted down, and then we collectively screamed together, and then brought back down after, grounded, And actually, we screamed once. It was our first time like leading a scream, and they were like, let's go again. And so we're like, all right, let's scream. So just this power of repetition for a few times until it felt like complete, and then bringing people back down into their bodies. And I think that's an important thing, whether you are with someone or by yourself. You're also like, what's the point? Do I feel like something has shifted? And you might find something else comes up that needs to be addressed. But just making sure there's these steps. It's not just like let's just scream randomly. There's intention behind it.
Yeah, that's the word, right? Because with everything we're talking about, there is intention behind it. You're not just like walking into the middle of a square randomly screaming, because, that's not helpful.
No.
But everything is intentional. I mean, we created the intention from the moment they arrived. We're like, what are you here to release? What are you here to create for yourself? And then before we do the scream, ground into your body. It's very intentional. I mean, we talk about this with psychedelics as well. Not to get off, but you don't just like go off and do a psychedelic. All right. It's not effective to do it that way. You have to be doing things with intention, whether we're talking about psychedelics or therapy or screaming or saying no, whatever we're talking about with our podcast, the power of intention has to be there.
Yeah. And, that was our intention. I mean, we're doing something also that other people aren't doing. We're integrating mental health with crawls. And by the way, there's mocktails and cocktails, but our intention was to teach and to create community and to just transform together. And we felt that. So I'm saying that because if this appeals to you, follow us on Instagram, Shrinks on Tap, because we're going to be coming to different cities regionally soon. And we would love for you to be part of our community, because also the other cool thing was that people came that were solos. There's a lot of people looking for connection. You talk about the divide. So we're excited. I know that's a little bit more than the scream, but I think the scream collectively is where there's a lot of power.
Yeah, the power of the collective. People forget that like you said, thousands of years people have been doing it. Buddhist monks do this in mantra and unison, Gregorian chants in the Christian tradition, Hindu devotional chants. Like it's just how do we all use our voice together collectively? Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the takeaway from this? You create a ritual container. You create the safety, the shared intention. There's a group synchronicity where you're doing it together, and there's the raw emotional expression in a safe and supportive environment. I think those are like the three elements that we found were really important. Yeah. Okay.
And if you're going to scream at home, just make sure others know what's happening because that can literally be traumatizing for them as well. So, but if you are home alone and you want to try it out, there's really no risk, You're going to feel like that worked for me or didn't work, but wait till you're activated and you're like, oh, I got something to release.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a funny video and they were showing these 4 women. I think they were Italian. And a subtitle, and one was screaming, the other, and the fourth one was like, and they're like, come on. And they're like, come on, they're like, think about your kids. And she's like, take out your sports. Why do I have to repeat 15 times? And so, we just scream generally, but sometimes even verbalizing what you can't scream. You're not going to scream at your kid. You shouldn't, But it's like sometimes you're just like, the frustration. She got into it. So when you start doing that, also you'd be surprised that other things might come up. So try it. It could be out loud. It could be self-contained or not.
Yeah.
It may not be for you, and that's okay.
It's all okay.
It's all okay.
So, well, thank you for joining us for this episode, and we will see you next time.
All right. Take care. Bye.